so it's then flourishing. Yes.
Yes.
This is Tibetan script, and it's old Tibetan script, and the rough translation of this is that the local Raja was converted to Buddhism, and he then sponsored this rock carving. Some archaeologists believe that the central Buddha image, which is of Sakyamuni touching earth on his enlightenment. I think you all know the general story. Some archaeologists believe that the portrayal of the Buddha there is in actual fact a portrayal of the local Raja converted. And the reason for that was quite common, to give the idea that the local Raja is converted and thus the whole population gets converted to Buddhism. But the central image is, as I said, of Sakyamuni as earth is my witness, I am enlightened. And then there are 20 other smaller Buddhas around the central image, all in the same depiction. Now, left and right, there are two larger images, and these are generally considered to be bodhisattvas. You know, a bodhisattva is someone who has gained enlightenment, but instead of escaping the wheel, returns back to earth to then propagate the religion. The interesting thing about the figures, and why we know very, very much that these are really Tibetan, is that look particularly on the right hand, my right hand sort of bodhisattva, and you can see it has a crown. One of the big differences between Tibetan art and all other arts is that usually you see the Buddha with a crown. You don't see that in other art forms. So the crown is the giveaway. And equally too, you can see right at the bottom, then you see there's a vase. You know, within the vase or from the vase is emanating the wisdom of Buddhism. The vase is always something that one of the important Buddhas, Amitayus or Amitabha, holds, and within that vase are the secrets of Buddhism. And so the secrets, the wisdom is emanating out, the lotus pattern you can see, and then of course this is then Buddhism now flourishing over the region. You know, if you were to come onto this platform here and look that way, you'll see the mountains, which is Tibet, and so it's then flourishing over the mountain. The location of the site is not without good thought. There are some parts of it that are missing. You can see there's a section of the rock that's over there, and then also too, this is now in more recent times, you can see that the moisture, salt, gets behind the rock and then pops it, you know, rather like plaster pops when that moisture gets behind. But you can also see that there are inscriptions down below the left of the vase, also, which is very carefully. If I can just show you the inscriptions here, and then there are some inscriptions here. These are all inscriptions which can't really be read. There are also two some people who think that the story is a Jataka story. The Jataka stories are Buddha's former lives, and why you see then the 20 Buddhas all around. I'm not 100% convinced about this, but the fact that they're all touching earth can depict that, you know, these are then former lives. There's also too a little interesting thing which is here. This is, you know, rather like you see the Bodhisattva, the elegance of the costume that's coming down. Here's a central part of the costume. What's interesting is this is almost Khmer, you know, with that sarong-like. And then equally too, if you look at the images, they're not typically Tibetan. Tibetan features are very fine features, very, very sort of oblong face, high cheekbones. These are very rounded, very flat nose, etc. And so possibly it's due to the nature of the rock itself. It's hard rock, and so the carving of it is possibly quite difficult. But the dress, particularly of the Bodhisattvas, is somewhat more Indian than it is Tibetan, especially with the bangles that you can see, and then these long drapes and this folded almost sarong on both of them, as you can see. At the top there, that's a post hole, probably for a canopy protecting it later on. You can see that around it, can you see just to the right of the post hole, can you see an image of a figure with wings? Yeah. That's what we refer to as an apsara. You know, apsara or dakini, to give it another term. They're the Buddhist equivalent of angels. And that's a really interesting element. There's almost certainly there would have been a second one on the left-hand side, which has now been washed away. But the reason why you've got a lot of kind of erosion there is not from the wind or the rain, but it's from stones or from coins. Because the tradition is that as you came here, you threw a coin or you threw a stone up, and if you got it into that hole, then all of your wishes would be fulfilled. So that's why you've got that erosion there. But if you look very carefully, you can see as though, you know, carved out of the rock is this canopy going from just below the square, going over and hanging over it all. And particularly above those line of 5 Buddhas at the top there. Can you see those drapes? Yeah. And if you've been into a Buddhist temple, particularly in Tibet, you see those awnings everywhere, like prayer flags fluttering in the wind. But it's a really, really beautiful piece. Remarkable that it's remained, let's say, 8th century. Just fabulous. And you should walk around it, because there are also some images that are carved around the back as well.